What if everything you thought you knew about winning a man's heart was wrong? How often have you been told that showing up, giving more, and pursuing relentlessly is the only way to capture his attention? Now, let me ask you this. How's that been working for you? Here's the truth. Chasing him might actually be the thing driving him away. That constant effort, the endless text messages, the carefully planned encounters, all of it can leave you feeling exhausted, frustrated, and unseen. But what if I told you there's a completely different way, one that flips the script and puts you back in control? Imagine this. You stop running after him. You pull back, not out of spite or anger, but because you've realized something profound. Your value isn't tied to whether or not he notices you. It's rooted in who you are, in your confidence, your passions, and the energy you bring to the table. And here's where the magic happens. When you take that step back, something remarkable begins to unfold. He notices. He feels the shift. And suddenly he's the one wondering about you. What happened? Why the change? Why can't he stop thinking about you now that you're no longer chasing him? This isn't a game. It's not manipulation. It's rooted in Dark Stoic Psychology, a powerful approach that combines self-mastery, emotional detachment, and confidence to create an irresistible allure. Today, we're diving into the 7 things that happen when you stop chasing him, and trust me, the transformations will blow your mind. You'll discover how to captivate him without losing yourself, why stepping back is the most empowering move you can make, and how this shift will unlock a new chapter in your love life. Are you ready to change the game? Let's start with the first thing that happens when you stop running after him. It's all about reclaiming your value and showing him who you truly are. 1. Valuing yourself, the foundation of attraction. Stop for a moment and think about this. When was the last time you truly felt like the prize in your relationships? Not the one putting in all the effort, but the one being pursued, cherished, and celebrated. If it's been a while, this first step is for you. When you stop chasing him, the first and most important shift happens within you. It's about reclaiming your sense of self-worth and recognizing that your value isn't determined by someone else's attention. Imagine what would change in your life if you no longer sought his validation to feel whole. Here's the hard truth. Constantly chasing him sends a message, even if you don't mean to. It says, I need you to feel valuable. I need you to choose me for me to feel complete. And let's be honest, does that energy feel attractive? Would you find it appealing if the roles were reversed? Instead, when you step back, something profound begins to happen. You stop looking outward for your worth and start finding it within yourself. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest ally. As the Stoics teach, you cannot control someone else's feelings or actions, but you can control your response. You can choose to prioritize your growth, your happiness, and your peace of mind. Think about it. How would it feel to wake up every day knowing your happiness isn't tied to his next move? Imagine pouring your energy into yourself, your goals, your passions, your dreams. Picture the confidence that comes from creating a life so fulfilling that anyone who gets to share it with you feels lucky to be part of your world. This is the essence of Dark Stoic Psychology, harnessing self-control and emotional detachment to shift the balance of power in your favor. You're no longer the one chasing. Instead, you've become magnetic, drawing him toward you without lifting a finger. And here's the beautiful part. When you start valuing yourself, you automatically teach him to value you too. Suddenly, he's paying attention in a way he never did before. He's noticing your independence, your confidence, the way you light up a room without needing anyone's approval. The dynamic changes, and you're no longer the one trying to prove your worth. He's the one realizing how much value you bring to his life. And that shift, it's irresistible. But let me ask you, what's stopping you from making this change? Is it fear that he'll forget you if you pull back? Or worry that stepping away means losing your chance with him? If so, consider this. Isn't it worth stepping back if it means reclaiming your power, your peace, and your confidence? When you stop chasing him, you're not losing anything. You're gaining everything. You're taking control of your narrative, and that's the first step toward becoming the woman he can't stop thinking about. 2. Fear of losing you, a powerful trigger. Here's a question for you. Have you ever noticed how we only truly appreciate something once it's gone? It's human nature, we take things for granted until they're no longer there. And when you stop running after him, this exact dynamic comes into play. You see, when you're always there, texting him good morning, making plans, being the first to check in, he knows he has you. He doesn't have to wonder. He doesn't have to think twice about your feelings because your presence is useless. But the moment you step back, everything changes. It's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, he's no longer sure of you. Your silence creates a void, a space where he once felt comfort, assurance, and validation. And that space doesn't stay empty for long. It's quickly filled with thoughts of you. Why hasn't she texted me? Did I say something wrong? Is she moving on? This fear of losing you is one of the most powerful psychological triggers. When you stop chasing him, you disrupt his sense of security. And in that disruption, something incredible happens. He starts to feel your absence. Think about it. He might not notice all the little things you do when you're constantly present, but the moment those things disappear, they become glaringly obvious. The texts you used to send that brightened his day, the way you always showed up for him, the laughter and connection you brought to his life, now he's realizing what it feels like without them. And here's where stoicism becomes your secret weapon. By stepping back, you're practicing emotional control. You're not reacting to his behavior or begging for his attention. Instead, you're showing that your happiness doesn't depend on him, and that's a game changer. Let's get real. What's more attractive? Someone who's constantly seeking validation, or someone who radiates self-assurance and peace? Your decision to step back sends a powerful message. It says, I value myself enough not to chase. If you want me, you'll need to step up. And trust me, he will notice. He might check his phone more often, wondering why he hasn't heard from you. He might even reach out, trying to reignite the connection. But here's the key. You're not doing this to manipulate him. You're doing it to give yourself the space to breathe, to refocus on your own life, and to let him realize your worth on his own. Now, let's take a moment to imagine what this shift looks like. Picture him scrolling through his phone, noticing the silence from your end. Maybe he starts to replay your last conversation, wondering if he missed something. Perhaps he hears your name in a conversation and feels a pang of curiosity. What's she up to? Who is she with? And in that space, the fear of losing you begins to grow. But here's the twist. It's not about making him fear for the sake of it. It's about creating the opportunity for him to see your value in a way he couldn't when you were always chasing. Here's a truth grounded in Dark Stoic Psychology. People value what they feel they might lose. And when you pull back, you're no longer a given, you're a rare and precious presence that he wants to keep. But let me ask you this. Are you willing to give him that space? Are you ready to step back, not out of anger or frustration, but out of self-respect and confidence? When you stop running after him, you're not closing the door. You're simply giving him the chance to open it himself. And trust me, when he does, it will be because he chooses to, not because you pushed him. If this resonates with you, take a moment to show some love to this video. Hit that like button and comment number 1 below if you're ready to step into your power and let him feel the shift. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like these. Together, we'll unlock the secrets to a confident, magnetic you. There's so much more to uncover, and you won't want to miss it. 3. Igniting his competitive spirit. What happens when the rules of the game suddenly change? Imagine this. For weeks, maybe even months, you've been the one reaching out, initiating plans, and keeping the connection alive. He's grown comfortable, maybe even complacent, knowing you'll always be there. But then, without warning, you stop. No more texts, no more casual check-ins, no more bending over backward to make yourself available. Instead, you focus on your life, your passions, your goals, and suddenly the dynamic shifts in ways he never saw coming. Let's talk about human nature for a moment. Whether we like to admit it or not, we're wired to desire what we perceive as scarce. It's why diamonds are more valuable than pebbles and why an exclusive invitation feels so much more enticing than an open one. The moment you pull back, you create a sense of rarity about yourself, and that ignites something powerful in him. his competitive spirit. You're no longer the predictable constant in his life. Instead, you become the intriguing variable, the person he can't quite pin down. And with that comes a flood of questions. Why is she so distant? What's changed? Is there someone else capturing her attention? And yes, let's address the elephant in the room. Jealousy. While jealousy isn't the sole driver of this competitive instinct, it plays its part. The thought of someone else winning your attention can be a powerful motivator, but it goes deeper than that. This isn't just about him competing with others, it's about him competing with himself. He wants to win you back because it reminds him of the chase, the thrill of earning your affection, and the validation that comes with it. Now, let's take a closer look at what happens next. Without even realizing it, he starts to make subtle but significant changes. Maybe he puts more effort into his appearance, hoping to impress you when you cross paths. Perhaps he suddenly remembers the little things that matter to you. Your favorite coffee order, that movie you mentioned wanting to see, or the way you laugh at his jokes. In essence, he's stepping into the role you once played. He's now the one thinking about ways to reconnect, to reignite the spark, to prove himself worthy of your attention. And here's the beautiful irony. The less you chase, the harder he works to win you back. This isn't manipulation, it's a natural response to the shift in dynamics. By pulling back, you've created a space where he can step up. You've shown him that your attention and energy are valuable, not something to be taken for granted. And as a result, he starts to see you in a new light, not as someone always available, but as someone worth pursuing. Now, let's talk about why this works. At its core, this is about stoicism, the practice of controlling what you can and letting go of what you can't. You're not trying to force his hand or play mind games. Instead, you're focusing on yourself, your growth, your happiness, and your peace. You're showing him, through your actions, that your life doesn't revolve around his presence, and that is what makes you magnetic. Here's an example. Imagine he's used to you texting him every morning, asking how his day is going. But one day, the texts stop. At first, he might not think much of it. Maybe he assumes you're busy or preoccupied. But as days go by, he starts to notice the silence. He checks his phone, half expecting to see your name pop up, but it doesn't. That absence lingers, and with it comes curiosity. Who's she talking to? What's she doing? Is she seeing someone else? And just like that, you've sparked his competitive spirit. But it's not about you playing hard to get. It's about living your life in a way that naturally inspires him to reevaluate his approach. You're not available on demand because you're busy building a life you love, a life that anyone would feel lucky to be part of. Think about the impact this has on how he sees you. You're no longer just there. You're someone who commands respect, someone who values herself enough not to chase, someone who's worth the effort. And that realization? It's a game changer. He might start doing things he hasn't done in months, or maybe ever. Reaching out first, planning thoughtful dates, making time for you in ways he didn't before, not because you demanded it, but because he wants to. Because he recognizes that if he doesn't step up, someone else might. This is the power of Dark Stoic Psychology in action. By stepping back, you're not just changing the dynamic, you're transforming the way he sees you. You're creating a space for him to rise to the occasion, to become the man who deserves your attention. And in the process, you're reclaiming your power, your peace, and your sense of self-worth. But here's the best part. While all of this is happening, you're not sitting around waiting for his next move. You're out there living your best life, focusing on your goals, and embracing the things that bring you joy. You're showing him, and yourself, that your happiness doesn't depend on him. So let me ask you, what would it look like to stop chasing and let him come to you? How would it feel to shift the dynamic and ignite his competitive spirit, not through manipulation, but by being authentically you? When you stop running after him, you're not just creating intrigue, you're setting the stage for a relationship where effort, respect, and mutual appreciation thrive. And that, my friend, is where the magic happens. 4. Reflection. Making him question his actions. Imagine this. You've stepped back, choosing to focus on yourself instead of chasing him. At first, he may not even realize what's happening. Maybe he thinks you're just busy or having an off day. But as the days pass and your silence stretches longer, something begins to shift. The predictable pattern he's grown so used to is no longer there. And in its place is an unfamiliar quiet, one that makes him stop and think. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Was I too distant? This is the power of reflection, and it's one of the most transformative things that happens when you stop running after him. By stepping back, you're creating a space where he can examine his behavior, his choices, and how he's shown up in your relationship. And trust me, this process can be incredibly eye-opening for him. Let's take a closer look at what's really happening here. When you're always chasing, you unintentionally shield him from having to face his own actions. He doesn't have to question whether he's been attentive or if he's taken you for granted, because you're always there, filling the gaps. But when you pull back, suddenly he's left alone with his thoughts, and those thoughts can be surprisingly loud. Think about it. When was the last time someone's absence made you reflect on your relationship with them? Maybe it was a friend who stopped reaching out or a colleague who left a job. That quiet void can be profoundly impactful, forcing you to revisit moments, replay conversations, and analyze interactions in a way you wouldn't have if they'd stayed present. For him, this reflection often starts with small realizations. He might replay your last conversation and notice a dismissive tone in his own words. He might remember a time when you made plans and he cancelled without much thought. Or maybe he recalls how you always laughed at his jokes, even when he didn't put in the same effort to make you smile. Each memory becomes a piece of a larger puzzle, one that he's now trying to solve. Why did she pull away? Was it something I did? Is it too late to fix this? And here's the beautiful part. This reflection isn't something you have to force. It happens naturally because of the space you've created. You're no longer pushing for answers or trying to guide his thoughts. Instead, you're allowing him the freedom to come to these realizations on his own. This is where Stoicism shines. As the Stoics teach, we can't control other people's actions, but we can control our own. By stepping back, you're practicing emotional discipline. You're choosing not to react impulsively or try to fix things for him. Instead, you're giving him the opportunity to take a hard look at himself and how he's shown up for you. Now, let's consider what happens next. As he continues to reflect, he starts to see patterns he might have overlooked before. Maybe he realizes he's been distant because he assumed you'd always be there. Or perhaps he starts to understand that his lack of effort sent the wrong message. Whatever the case, these realizations are powerful because they're entirely his own. But why is this important? Because when someone comes to a conclusion on their own, it carries far more weight than when it's handed to them. If you'd tried to explain these things to him, he might have dismissed them as overthinking or nagging. But now, in the quiet of your absence, he's the one putting the pieces together. And here's where it gets even more interesting. As he reflects, he begins to see not just where he fell short, but also what he misses about you. The way you made him feel understood. The little gestures that showed you cared. The connection that felt so effortless until it wasn't. This dual realization of what he might have done wrong and what he stands to lose creates a powerful shift in his mindset. Suddenly, he's not just thinking about you in passing. You're occupying a significant part of his thoughts not because you're chasing him, but because your absence is impossible to ignore. So, what does this mean for you? It means you're no longer the one carrying the emotional weight of the relationship. By stepping back, you've handed him the responsibility of evaluating his own behavior. And that, my friend, is incredibly empowering, not just for you, but for him as well. This reflection process isn't just about him recognizing your value. It's also about him growing as a person. He's learning to take accountability, to appreciate what he has, and to step up in ways he might not have considered before. And when he does come back to you, because trust me, he will, it won't be out of guilt or obligation. It will be because he's genuinely recognized your worth and wants to make things right. But let me ask you, are you ready to give him that space? Are you willing to step back and trust that your silence can speak louder than any words ever could? If you're feeling inspired by this idea, let's take a moment to celebrate this shift in mindset. Hit that like button and comment number 1 below if you're ready to embrace the power of stepping back and letting him reflect. And don't forget to subscribe for more empowering insights like this. Together we're exploring what it means to live confidently, love authentically, and create relationships that truly matter. 5. Realizing his feelings. Clarity through space. Let's talk about his feelings. You've stepped back, and now he's sitting with his thoughts. But something deeper is beginning to unfold. In the silence you've left behind, his emotions are rising to the surface, demanding his attention in a way they never have before. This is where the real magic happens. You see, when you were always there, always available, there was no need for him to reflect on how he felt about you. You were a constant, and constants don't require consideration, they're simply there. But now your absence has created a void. And nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. So what fills that void? Memories, moments, emotions. Suddenly he's replaying the way your laugh lit up his day, or the way you always knew exactly what to say when he was feeling down. He's thinking about the comfort of your presence, the ease of your conversations, and the subtle ways you made his world brighter. These aren't random thoughts, they're his subconscious working overtime, nudging him to acknowledge what he's been feeling all along. But why does this happen now? Why didn't he recognize these feelings when you were right there in front of him? The answer lies in one word: perspective. When someone is always present, their impact can be easy to overlook. It's only when that presence is gone that its full weight becomes clear. Think about it. How often do we truly appreciate the warmth of the sun until we find ourselves in the cold? Your absence has given him the perspective he needs to realize what you meant to him all along. This realization is a slow burn, not an instant spark. It's like a fire that starts with a single ember, growing gradually until it becomes impossible to ignore. At first, he might just miss the little things, your texts, your laughter, the way you made him feel seen. But as time passes, those little things start to add up. They become a wave of recognition, washing over him with increasing intensity. And here's the kicker: this process is entirely his own. You're not prompting it, pushing it, or guiding it. It's happening because you've created the space for it to happen. This is the power of Dark Stoic Psychology in action. By letting go of the need to control or chase, you're allowing his emotions to unfold naturally. But let's dig deeper. What exactly is he realizing? He's realizing that he felt something for you, something real, something significant, but he didn't take the time to acknowledge it before. Maybe he's realizing how much he enjoyed your presence, how safe and comfortable he felt around you. Or perhaps he's recognizing the spark between you, the connection that felt so effortless and genuine. This isn't just about missing you. It's about him coming to terms with the fact that those feelings weren't fleeting or surface level. They were real. And now that you're gone, he's feeling their absence in a way that's impossible to ignore. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, what stands in the way becomes the way. Your absence, the very thing he might have seen as an obstacle, has become the catalyst for his emotional clarity. It's forcing him to confront what he's been avoiding, to name the feelings he's been too distracted to recognize. But here's where it gets truly powerful. These realizations aren't just about you. They're about him too. He's learning not just what he feels, but why he feels it. He's uncovering the deeper layers of his own emotional world, becoming more aware of his needs, his desires, and his capacity for connection. And when he finally reaches that point of clarity, when he realizes what you meant to him and what he feels for you, it's not a fleeting epiphany. It's a profound understanding, one that carries weight and meaning because it came from within him. But here's the question: what will he do with these realizations? This is where the beauty of stepping back truly shines. By giving him the space to feel, reflect, and understand, you've empowered him to make a choice. If he decides to reach out, to reconnect, it will be because he genuinely wants to, not because he feels pressured or obligated. And that kind of connection, it's infinitely more valuable than anything you could have forced or chased. So, let me ask you, how does it feel to know that your absence can create such a powerful shift? How does it feel to trust that stepping back doesn't mean losing him, but giving him the space to see you, and himself, more clearly? When you stop running after him, you're not just creating the opportunity for him to realize his feelings. You're creating the foundation for a deeper, more authentic connection, one that's rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and genuine emotion. And that, my friend, is the kind of relationship worth waiting for. 6. Increased attraction. Why distance matters. Have you ever noticed how much more intriguing something becomes when it's just out of reach? It's human nature to crave the things we don't have, and this truth plays a pivotal role when it comes to attraction. By stepping back and focusing on yourself, you ignite a powerful shift. Your absence creates distance, and that distance transforms the way he sees you. Picture this. Before, you were always available, always eager, always ready to engage. While that kind of effort comes from a place of care, it often has the opposite effect. Constant presence can make someone take you for granted, not because they don't value you, but because they've never had to imagine life without you. But now you've changed the rules. You've stepped back, not with malice or manipulation, but with confidence. You've chosen to prioritize your own life, your own happiness, your own peace of mind. And that choice is magnetic. Here's what happens when you create that distance. At first, he might feel a bit thrown off. Maybe he wonders why you're suddenly less available, or why your attention isn't as consistent. This isn't a bad thing, in fact, it's the beginning of something profound. As days pass, he begins to notice how quiet his phone feels without your messages. He starts to wonder what you're up to, who you're spending time with, and why he's not the center of your attention anymore. That curiosity doesn't just linger, it grows. And with it grows his attraction to you. You see, when you're no longer constantly available, he has the space to reflect on what made you special in the first place. Your laughter, your intelligence, your ability to light up a room, all the qualities that might have faded into the background are now shining brighter than ever in his mind. This is the paradox of attraction. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. By pulling back, you're not pushing him away. You're allowing him to lean in. Let's take a closer look at why this works. At its core, this shift is about stoicism, specifically the idea of detachment. When you stop clinging to the outcome, you reclaim your power. You're no longer trying to control his feelings or force a connection. Instead, you're focusing on what you can control. Your own growth, your own happiness, your own journey. And here's the thing. Confidence like that doesn't go unnoticed. When you're out there living your best life, whether it's pursuing your goals, spending time with friends, or simply enjoying your independence, you radiate an energy that's impossible to ignore. You've gone from being someone who's always there to someone who's a bit of a mystery. And let me tell you, nothing captures attention quite like an unsolved mystery. Think about it. When was the last time someone's absence made you appreciate them more? Maybe it was a friend who moved away, a colleague who took a new job, or even a favorite coffee shop that closed temporarily. That longing, that sense of missing, has a way of amplifying our feelings. For him, this is exactly what's happening. As you step back, he starts to notice the subtle voids where you used to be, the texts that brightened his day, the conversations that left him smiling, the comfort of knowing you were there. Each of these moments becomes more vivid in your absence, and with that clarity comes a heightened sense of attraction. But this isn't just about him noticing your absence, it's about him seeing you in a new light. By stepping back, you've shown him something incredibly important. You're not dependent on his attention to feel valuable. You're not chasing, begging, or trying to prove yourself. Instead, you're living with confidence, self-assurance, and purpose. This is the essence of Dark Stoic Psychology, not manipulation, but mastery. Mastery of your emotions, your actions, and your choices. And that mastery is what makes you so magnetic. Now let's consider what happens next. As his attraction grows, he starts to reevaluate his priorities. Maybe he puts more effort into his appearance, hoping to catch your eye. Perhaps he starts reaching out more, trying to re-establish the connection. Or maybe he finds himself thinking about you at unexpected moments, wondering what you're doing and who you're with. This isn't about playing games, it's about letting him see your value in a way he couldn't before. By stepping back, you've given him the opportunity to recognize what he stands to lose. And that recognition, it's a powerful motivator. But here's the question. Are you ready to embrace this shift? Are you prepared to trust that distance doesn't weaken attraction? It strengthens it? If you're feeling empowered by this idea, Let's take a moment to celebrate. Hit that like button and comment number 1 if you're ready to embrace the power of distance and let your magnetism shine. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like these. Together we're redefining what it means to approach love with confidence, grace, and authenticity. You've got this, and I can't wait to see where your journey takes you next. 7. Realigning his priorities, seeing your true worth. Something remarkable happens when you stop chasing him. It's not just about creating space or sparking curiosity. Those are powerful, yes, but they're just the beginning. As time passes, and he begins to reflect on your absence and feel the pull of attraction grow stronger, another shift takes place. His priorities begin to realign. Why? Because the distance you've created forces him to see you through a completely different lens. You're no longer the woman who was always there, always giving, always chasing. You're the woman who values herself, the one who knows her worth, the one who isn't afraid to walk away if her needs aren't met. And that realization changes everything. Let's dive into why this happens. When you were always available, it was easy for him to put you on the back burner. Not intentionally, perhaps, but simply because he knew you'd always be there. There was no urgency, no need to prioritize you because your presence felt guaranteed. But when you stepped back, that guarantee disappeared, and with it went his ability to take you for granted. Now, he's seeing things differently. The texts you used to send, the effort you used to put in, the energy you brought into his life, it's all standing out in sharp relief against the silence. He's beginning to understand how much you contributed to the connection, how much value you added without asking for anything in return. This is where Dark Stoic Psychology plays a crucial role. By pulling back, you've shown him that your life doesn't revolve around him. You've reminded him, in the most powerful way possible, that your time, energy, and attention are privileges, not guarantees. And in doing so, you've challenged him to reassess his own priorities. So, what does this realignment look like? At first, it might be subtle. Maybe he starts carving out more time in his schedule to think about you, to reflect on what he's feeling. Perhaps he begins to notice how other areas of his life feel less fulfilling without you in them. But as these small shifts add up, they lead to something bigger. He starts to understand that if he wants to keep you in his life, he has to make you a priority. Not just an option or an afterthought, but a central, meaningful part of his world. And here's the beauty of it. This isn't about you demanding more or setting ultimatums. It's about him coming to this conclusion on his own. By stepping back, you've given him the space to realize what truly matters to him and to decide, for himself, that you're worth the effort. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about changing who you are or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about standing in your power, knowing your worth, and allowing him to rise to meet you. Consider this. When he begins to prioritize you, it's not just because he misses you. It's because he's finally seeing the depth of what you bring to the table. Your kindness, your intelligence, your ability to make him laugh, your unwavering support, all the things that made him drawn to you in the first place are now amplified in his mind. This realignment of priorities is a testament to the power of Stoicism in relationships. By focusing on what you can control, your own growth, happiness, and self-respect, you've created an environment where he can step up. And when he does, it's not because you begged or chased or pleaded. It's because he wants to. Think about how empowering this is. You're no longer the one putting in all the effort, wondering where you stand, or trying to prove your worth. Instead, you've reclaimed your power, and in doing so, you've inspired him to take action. And the best part? This shift isn't temporary. When a man decides to realign his priorities, it's because he's come to a deep, genuine understanding of what matters most to him. He's not just chasing a fleeting feeling or reacting to the moment, he's making a conscious choice to value and invest in you. So what does this mean for your relationship? It means moving forward with mutual respect, effort, and appreciation. It means creating a dynamic where both of you feel seen, valued, and supported. But here's the question. Are you ready to embrace this shift? Are you willing to let go of the need to chase, to trust in the power of stepping back, and to allow him the space to prioritize you in his own time and way? When you stop running after him, you're not just giving yourself the gift of peace and confidence, you're giving him the opportunity to see you for who you truly are, a woman worth fighting for. And that's a realization that changes everything. You've made it this far, and by now you understand something profound. When you stop running after him, you're not losing control, you're taking it back. Each step you've taken, valuing yourself, allowing him to feel your absence, igniting his competitive spirit, letting him reflect, giving space for his feelings to emerge, increasing his attraction, and inspiring him to realign his priorities, has led to a remarkable transformation. This isn't just about him. It's about you. You've shifted the focus from chasing to thriving, from seeking his attention to embracing your own self-worth. And in doing so, you've unlocked the power of Stoicism and Dark Stoic Psychology, not as a game or strategy, but as a way to center yourself, honor your needs, and create the kind of relationship that truly fulfills you. This journey isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating someone into wanting you. It's about embracing the truth that you are already enough. Your value doesn't come from how much effort you put into chasing someone. It comes from the light you bring into their life and the confidence you carry when you know that light is yours to give. Now, imagine what happens next. When he steps back into your life, he does so with intention. He's no longer coasting on your efforts or taking your presence for granted. He's showing up fully, ready to invest, because he knows that being with you is a privilege, not something to be assumed or expected. And if he doesn't come back, that's okay too, because by stepping away, you've given yourself the greatest gift of all, the freedom to focus on a life that fulfills you, with or without him. You've reclaimed your power, your peace, and your ability to create the love and happiness you deserve. So, let me ask you, what's the next step in your journey? How will you take what you've learned here and use it to elevate not just your relationships, but every part of your life? If this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation going. Drop a comment below and share your experience or insight. And if you're ready to keep growing, learning, and embracing your inner power, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we're building a community of strong, confident individuals who know their worth and aren't afraid to live it. Thank you for watching, and remember, your value comes from within. You're already extraordinary. Now go show the world what that looks like. Until next time, take care and keep shining.